Coming up next on Arizona Horizon's Journalists Roundtable, backers of an initiative to overturn recent election law changes file petition signatures. The Goldwater Institute files suit to keep the state's low-income health insurance program from expanding. And a Maricopa County judge okays a new campaign contribution law. The Journalists Roundtable is next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon's Journalists Roundtable. I'm Ted Simons. Joining me tonight are Jeremy Duda of the Arizona Capital Times, Mike Sunnix of the Phoenix Business Journal, and Hank Stevenson of the Arizona Capital Times. Well, petitions were filed this week in an effort to overturn recent changes to Arizona elections. Jeremy, this was this last-minute big omnibus. Everything's happening, everything's changing, and a lot of folks aren't happy about it. Talk to us about the drive now to overturn.
Well, this is a coalition of a whole bunch of groups. I mean, really led by the Arizona Democratic Party and some of their allies, but you also had the Libertarians in there, the Green Party, and there was something in there for pretty much everyone to hate. And so they all banded together. They started this petition drive to try and refer this to the ballot via the citizen referendum process. They needed 86,405 ballot signatures. They turned in 146,000. So it looks like they're probably going to get it. They need a validity rate of something like about 59%, and they'll get on there, and this puts this whole election bill on hold until the 2014 election.
When will we find out if those signatures are valid and this would be put on hold?
Over the next few weeks, the Secretary of State's office is going to go through them. They're going to cross out the ones that are anything that's obviously bad, and they're going to send them to the county recorders. They're going to take 5% samples, check them out, see what the validity rate is, and based on that, they'll determine how many valid signatures they have.
Considering the coalition, any surprise they got enough signatures?
No, they had a lot of different folks, like Jeremy had said. The Democrats nationally are talking about Republican voter suppression efforts, and that's how kind of they view these things. They think the purging of early voter rolls, changing the rules, making it harder for folks, volunteers to pick up and drop off early ballots for folks, the thresholds on third parties. Democrats nationally are talking about this, so they got a lot of national support kind of behind their effort, and they got a lot of folks going after this, and it could be an issue in the Secretary of State's race.
Well, I wanted to ask about that because this was Michelle Reagan's bill, correct? I mean, this is the thing she initially pushed. And she is running for Secretary of State, Hank. I mean, this could be a factor there, couldn't it?
Yeah, several of the provisions, really the PEVL provisions, the provisions dealing with the permanent early voting list, were Senator Reagan's bills to begin with. They all kind of got clumped together into one massive bill at the very last moments of session, really. But yeah, I mean, if this goes down, it's hard to see people voting against this bill and voting for its sponsor for the Secretary of State's race. How much that's going to matter anyway might be debatable, seeing as how Cardin has recently gotten into the race and has millions and millions of dollars behind him if he chooses to spend it that way.
Well, Reagan's taken some pretty moderate positions on Medicaid, on immigration, some of those issues, kind of sided with the business community and against kind of the right wing of the party. But on this, she could end up kind of being with the conservatives on this. And it's the usual kind of partisan split. Republicans kind of want a smaller electorate, more rules, more restrictions. Democrats want kind of a bigger tent, and they said it's going to disenfranchise minority Native American voters.
Well, if this gets on the ballot, which it looks like it probably will, I would expect to see a lot of national Democratic and Republican groups really get involved because the stakes are extremely high for them. For Democrats, this would eliminate their ability to go around and collect people's early ballots, which is really a staple of Democratic get-out-the-vote efforts. You sign people up, sign low-efficacy voters up to the permanent early voter list. You check to see when they get their ballot. You go to their house, ask them to fill out, and you drop it off. And this provides a lot of Democratic votes. And if they're not allowed to do this, that's a lot of votes they're going to lose, and both sides realize this.
Okay, so that particular petition drive, signatures are in, campaign will likely begin here shortly. The anti-Medicaid expansion drive, that one seems to be adios here, and talk to us about what, I thought this was the people's veto of access expansion. Where were the people?
The people's veto of Obamacare. The people just didn't show up, really. They had kind of calculated that if every Republican precinct committeeman got out there and collected 100 signatures each, they would have more than enough to put it on the ballot. The problem with that is that not every Republican precinct committeeman is against Medicaid expansion. They ended up coming up with somewhere around 80,000, 81,000, they say. Didn't drop off the signatures in the end. Just not going to happen. And it's really a case study of what a difference $250,000 can make. That's about what the other campaigns
Well, the other side came in and hired some of the petition gatherers, even though they really didn't even have a measure to gather things for. And so they had a lot of money and a lot of resources that they used to kind of basically block this group from doing this. And it's all about money, and it's all about timing. When you try to collect signatures in Arizona in the summer, it's a tough go, no matter what issue. We've seen this with some local initiatives, with the Coyotes and other things. They look at these thresholds and they're like, oh, we can make that easy. And then 3 weeks later, they're not even close.
I know we hear about grassroots campaigns, Jeremy, but this was a grassroots campaign that didn't have any fertilizer on it, if you know what I mean. I mean, you have to have money, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, they got about $20,000 in the very last week when they were already dead in the water. I mean, we heard so much at the start of this about the power of the grassroots. They had this big rally down at the Capitol, and all these precinct committeemen, the majority of whom probably are very opposed to Medicaid expansion. Remember, these folks all passed resolutions condemning Governor Brewer and all these Republican legislators who voted in favor of this, and the organizers, you know, Frank Antinori and Ron Gould and Christine Bauserman, figured these people are all going to come out and, you know, collect signatures for this. And at the end, when, you know, they realized they weren't going to make it, or at least acknowledge it publicly, Ron Gould, the former senator from Lake Havasu City, told me, he said, I asked him why, you know, what he attributed the failure to. He said, you know, these PCs didn't turn out. You know, they basically showed that being a Republican precinct committeeman is worthless. If they're going to oppose this, they're not actually going to do anything about it, and they've shown that this means nothing.
We have to have Republicans have to have a built-in constituency for these things. Democrats have unions, civil rights groups, Hispanic groups, minority groups that they can galvanize together for their ballot measures. Republicans can get these things on the ballot when it's something related to guns, because you have the NRA, or if it's an abortion thing, you have the Right to Life groups. But for something like this, there wasn't really a natural group to kind of go to and turn to and to get this. So there's always a challenge for Republicans on these types of issues.
So what about the Tea Party? We keep hearing about the Tea Party, how strong it is in Arizona, its influence. Where were they?
They don't have any money. Tea Party groups don't give to candidates for the most part. I mean, there are a couple major groups that will put out some money for certain causes. But the grassroots is grassroots. I mean, it's not establishment. It's not the business community backing them. The business community was actively fighting this.
And there's so many different Tea Party groups. There's not just one overall one that has, you know, 500,000 members that they can leverage. There's all kinds of different ones, and so they're very disjointed.
But there was so much sound and fury here, Jeremy. You figured you'd at least get the minimum number of. I mean, we just talked about a referendum initiative drive here that went way over the top. It's summertime, same heat, same state. What happened?
Well, the other initiative, other referendum, they had a lot of money and a bunch of volunteers who were collected tens of thousands of signatures. You know, on the Medicaid thing, you know, like Hank said, a lot of these, you know, the Tea Party activists, you know, they don't have, these are not, you know, big dollar groups, they're grassroots groups, you know, they don't really give a lot of money, as Ron Gould, you know, mentioned to me, he learned that when he ran for Congress last year. But there are national groups that I was surprised didn't really come out to put some money into these national conservative groups, you know, folks like Freedom Works and the Club for Growth and some of those associated groups. I thought some of them might put in some money, at least if they showed that the volunteers were getting it done.
I mean,
first.
Republicans are split on this. I mean, if you look at other states, there's a lot of governors that have taken the money like Brewer did and this state did. So this isn't something like guns or abortion or marriage where conservative Republicans are pretty one voting block on this. There's a lot, and it's a complicated issue, and when you start getting into the weeds like that, it's hard to collect signatures.
Well, we know the Goldwater Institute is very much against this particular deal, especially in the way that it was done. And so I don't know how long it was after the initiative drive pronounced itself dead in the water. Goldwater Institute files. Talk to us about this lawsuit and what they're claiming.
They're essentially alleging that because it didn't pass through both chambers of the legislature with 2/3 majority, that it is a tax increase, and under Prop 105, which was passed a number of years back, any tax increase or increase to state revenues needs to have a 2/3 majority through each chamber. It didn't get that, but we've seen a lot of other programs that get assessment increases, the ability to raise their own assessment as this is actually designed to be. This kind of thing happens all the time, and there aren't lawsuits brought against it. We're looking at, you know, people are aiming at what they can, and this is a Prop 108 argument, really.
Yeah, and I think the governor's office and her allies always viewed this, you know, imminent lawsuit as probably the bigger threat, you know, as opposed to the referendum, because, you know, the argument over whether this is a tax or an assessment or a fee, in a lot of ways it seems like kind of a semantic fight, but it has very, you know, serious ramifications. They call it an assessment in the law. You know, in shorthand, we all kind of call it the hospital tax that funds this, and it obviously didn't get 2/3. But, you know, there's this, as Hank mentioned, there's this provision that it's always been used to let other agency heads set these fees as long as the legislature doesn't set an amount. But there's another provision in Prop 108 that kind of seems to contradict that, so we're going to have to let the judges sort it out now.
Well, the folks on the right will say, well, if it acts like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a duck. And it's a tax, and it's a bed tax that hospitals agree to. Now, it could have really far-reaching impact beyond this big Medicaid thing because you have all these user fees and assessment fees that the legislature, under all kinds of parties and governors, have used in the past. And do those have to all get a supermajority too? So we'll see how far the courts are willing to go, or if they're willing to allow this kind of gray area and how these fees not count as taxes.
Let's go ahead and define the duck here. It allows Access Director of Access, to establish, administer, and collect this hospital assessment. Assessment, not tax. I mean, are we really getting down to semantics here?
In a lot of ways, we are, yeah. I mean, and there are even kind of different definitions of what a tax and an assessment are. This has really got to be sorted out by the courts, and I agree that this could have really big ramifications. Should the courts decide that this is a tax, they're probably going to have to say, well, then a lot of other things were taxes too.
Saw 36 of 38 lawmakers exposed to expansion named here is responding here in the lawsuit. Michelle Reagan, not among those. Again, that statewide office hangs over almost everything she does, huh?
Yeah, kind of surprising just because of the statewide campaign, and then she was opposed to this, even though at the very beginning of the session, a lot of folks thought she would probably support it just because she's always regarded as one of the more liberal Republicans over there. But she opposed it, outside of one vote that she said was kind of a procedural issue. But yeah, it's surprising that she's not on there. And I believe her likely opponent, one of her likely opponents, is actually on there. So we'll see if that becomes an issue there.
Well, and we should mention, comes just a few weeks before enrollment for Obamacare begins, and again, one day after the initiative drive failed. Meanwhile, Governor apparently is going to have a fundraiser for those who did support her Medicaid expansion. And this is something that I guess is needed, Hank, because the foes saying we're out to get you.
Feeding the troops. There are a lot of lawmakers that this will be a big issue in their districts. There are some that, this won't make a difference. They're allowed to do what they want. When you look at lawmakers like Ethan Orr from down in Tucson, who's in a Democratic-leaning district, he's Republican. This makes his Republicans mad, but if he can get through a primary election, it helps him in the general. So maybe he doesn't need that money, but some of the really staunch districts where the whole race is decided in the primary, they're going to need some money.
This is where the business community, I think, is trying to draw a line in the sand. They've lost control of the Republican Party over the past decade with all the social issues and immigration. And this was one that the hospitals and the big chambers, the establishment, sided with the governor on taking the Obamacare money. And there's some folks on that list, McComish and Worsley. Worsley was the one, obviously, that knocked off Russell Pierce. And I think the business community, they're having this fundraiser at a hospital executive's house in Paradise Valley, so it's in a nice neighborhood. So I think you're going to see the business community kind of get behind some of these folks and say, look, if we want to take the legislature back, part of it is taking the Republican caucus back, and here's some folks that stood with us on this issue. Some of those stood with them against some of the immigration crackdown laws the previous year. So I think you'll see businesses in the healthcare industry get behind the governor on this.
Well, remember, these folks all vowed their support during the session when these Republican lawmakers were really under fire from the conservative grassroots. The governor said she would do what she could to help them out. The Chamber of Commerce, the business groups, the hospital groups, all knew that these people were going to be facing threats, and a lot of them anyway, would be facing threats in their primaries next year. People would be trying to knock them off, make that a single issue primary over that one issue, and they're going to come out. If you have enough money, you can overcome a lot.
Well, and one more thing regarding the previously referred to Sound and Fury. We just saw the people's veto kind of take a swan dive down the tubes here. How much is that threat? How serious is that threat on the Republican side in the primaries?
As far as getting challenged in the primaries?
Well, we're getting a credible challenge, a serious challenge.
Yeah, that's the difference. That's really the line. We've already seen people coming out saying, I'm going to challenge this lawmaker for voting for Medicaid expansion, but we really haven't seen any serious, credible candidates coming out and saying, giving a good explanation of why their district representative shouldn't have voted for Medicaid expansion and offering a viable alternative.
The thing is the turnout in those primaries are obviously really much smaller, and so you could have a much smaller block of voters deciding those. So there could be somebody that's just kind of a wild card, a newcomer that people don't know, but they run on that one issue, and the district people are annoyed by that, and they knocks people off. If they can knock a few people off, some bigger names on that list, then that sends a message to future candidates. Wow, I got to think about how much I buck the kind of the right wing of the party.
And we mentioned this fundraising event. This comes now after a judge has pretty much okayed this new campaign contribution law, so the money can flow a little more freely there at the dinner at the Paradise Valley Health Insurance Guys.
Yeah, if you heard a strange noise today, it's thousands of people soliciting very big checks now that our very low contribution limits have gone up. The legislature passed a law during the session that increases the limits from $912 for statewide candidates and about $440, I think, for legislative candidates to $4,000 per person, which is a pretty massive increase. Now, the Clean Elections Commission and some other folks challenged us in court and said this violates the Voter Protection Act, because even though the Voter Protection Act doesn't set the actual contribution limits, it has a separate provision that automatically reduces them by 20%, kind of a backdoor way at regulating these limits through the Clean Elections Act. They went before the court judge on Tuesday, and everyone made their arguments, and yesterday the judge said, no dice.
Well, and apparently, they're saying it violates the Clean Elections Act, as you mentioned, which violates the Voter Protection Act, and the judge is saying no.
And to be clear, that's just the judge has not given a preliminary injunction.
Yes,
the lawsuit is still continuing.
Yes.
But based on the ruling that Judge Brain put out yesterday, there seems to be very little doubt at what the final outcome of this case will be in his courtroom. I mean, he not only said that the Clean Elections Commission and the other plaintiffs were unlikely to succeed on the merits, he issued what was a very eyebrow-raising ruling that really strayed into some territory that no one even really wasn't even brought up during the hearing. He said, the Voter Protection Act and the Clean Elections Act were both passed in 1998, and the Voter Protection Act said this will apply to all future ballot measures and anything passed this year. Judge Brain said, you know what? You can't guarantee that everyone who voted for one voted for the other, and so you can't guarantee. So there's no way to know what the voters really wanted. So therefore, I'm saying that the Voter Protection Act doesn't apply to stuff that was passed this year.
Yeah, it was a tough ruling to follow. He even referenced game theory in it. It was very
that happened in a
unusual.
court ruling before.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm glad I didn't get too close on that one.
And the business folks love this thing. They have chambers, and they've wanted to see the increase so they can contribute more.
Well,
this benefits kind of the establishment, the kind of special interest groups that have some money and they can increase their influence.
I was going to ask that. We mentioned the Tea Party, mentioned the fact that Tea Party members are loud but may not have the finances to back up the noise. It sounds like there's a lot of money now flowing around there, and that noise could even be further drowned out.
Yeah, I mean, this could help moderate Republicans that used to make up a bigger part of the caucus at the legislature that are really almost extinct now, and because the business community has not been able to kind of exert some pressure on them on certain issues like health care, like immigration. And if there's more money down there, maybe their ears will be a little more open.
Well, if you want to see how much some people were looking forward to these new limits, just look at all the fundraisers we're seeing next week. 2 for Doug Ducey, the first 2 of his campaign, 2 for Tom Horn, 2 for Fred Duvall, the governor's one for all the legislators. And if you see the invites for Tom Horn's fundraisers, actually, which came out before the judge ruled on this, before the new limits went into effect, it said, hey, the new limits are $4,000, so,
By the way, quickly, is that $4,000 for primary, then you get a new $4,000 for general, or is it total?
It's split between the two sides of the cycle, which we didn't used to do before. This is based on the federal model where you have the contribution limit, but half of it is for the primary and half is for the general.
Okay. It's a slow and arduous death for clean elections, though.
Yes.
At first they wanted to go after it, have a ballot measure and reverse it. They couldn't get that on the ballot, and slowly they've kind of taken it kind of limb by limb.
Well, with this ruling, that death might come a lot quicker now.
Another judicial decision here regarding the number of judicial nominees. The law talked to us about this because this was a situation where folks were wanting to get the governor a few more options. He has 3 choices, I guess, regarding judicial nominees. They wanted to make it 5, and it seems as though the Supreme Court looked at this and very quickly said, what?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't even really go into oral arguments on it. It was one of those things where lawmakers were warned in committee very clearly that this is unconstitutional, right? And they decided to pass it anyway. It very quickly went down when it went to court.
And the reason being that they wanted to change something that could only be changed through the Constitution by statute.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the Constitution that it's 3 or more, so they can still give 5 nominees if they want. But you can't change that via the statutes. You have to go to the Constitution, which requires a vote of the people, which they tried in 2012, and the proposition failed miserably.
Well, explain this. The people that voted this down big time. The Supreme Court is saying, "What are you doing here? Go away with this." Who wants this? Why is this such?
Some of the more social conservative folks want this. They want a bigger pool of judicial nominees for governors to pick from, because they feel the ones that are being presented to the governor now, the ones that the 3 are usually a Democrat and a couple of moderates, and they wanted to expand it to have some more anti-abortion judges that would oppose same-sex marriage. So a lot of social conservatives kind of pushed for this. It was an ideological wing, the Republican Party pushed for this. The ballot measure failed because it was confusing, and voters vote no on confusing ballot measures. If they put it up 100 more times, they'd probably fail 100 more times, unless they get some way to run a bunch of television commercials and craft a simple message. But it's one of those things that's so complicated that voters, when they're looking at all these measures on these ballots, they're going to vote no. So it was kind of a no-brainer for the court to rule against this, because it's a constitutional matter.
Are we going to see this again pop up in any different fashion?
Oh, I'm sure we will. This has been popping up, every year for the last couple of years. The Center for Arizona Policy lobbied to put this on the ballot last year, and there really wasn't much of a campaign in favor. I think a lot of supporters just assumed, well, this is common sense. People will vote yes. We want more choices, but there's no campaign for it. There was somewhat of a campaign against it. You guys mentioned it was a very confusing thing, and it got completely stomped at the ballot. So they could put it back. I'm sure there'll be a push for it, but if you put it back on the ballot, I don't know what reason anyone has to believe that things are going to turn out any differently.
Well, if you had some big conservative group like we talked about with Medicaid, it came in, Sheldon Adelson, something like that, and spend a bunch of money and say, look, we have a bunch of liberal judges on here. Look at these rulings on immigration and social issues. We're going to be like California. We want a bigger swath of candidates to choose from. Then it could pass, but that's easier said than done, just like with Medicaid and these other issues.
Or if they even narrowed it to just the nominees. I mean, the proposition did a lot more than that. That was kind of a center point of it, but it was a lot more,
yes.
And it really was a confusing proposition for a lot of people.
Indeed, a very, very busy idea. Okay, real quickly here, we had the legalization of marijuana that pushes on now for legalizing by 2016, and yet same-sex marriage, another issue that seems to be veering in one direction. That campaign ends. What's going on here?
This thing, they closed up shop, I believe, this week. They pretty much conceded defeat a few weeks ago. They started pulling their paid signature gatherers off the street. This was a push largely coming from Republicans, and as it turns out, a lot of the big LGBT groups and Democrats didn't trust them. No one wanted to work with them. They had a Republican consultant named Tim Mooney working for this thing, who's historically been involved in a lot of social conservative causes, and now says, I've had, kind of changed my views on this. Nobody trusted them. They weren't getting the support they were hoping to, and they pretty much closed up shop.
And was it
resources?
Go ahead.
It's resources and money, just like we've talked about with these other issues. The gay marriage thing here was a couple of local executives and a consultant, didn't have a lot of national backing or regional backing behind it. The marijuana thing is this marijuana policy project, which ran the medical marijuana things, wants to do these measures in 10 other states, California, Nevada, a bunch of states in the East, Maryland and New England. And they have some money and some resources. They know how to run these things. And so where the issues are both headed towards a more liberal point nationally, when you get down to the state level and ballot measure levels, it's all about kind of resources and cash.
And 2014 may not have been the year for this, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see another gay marriage thing come up in 2016 for the same reason I think the marijuana people are going to try and put their thing on the ballot in 2016 is it'll be a presidential race. You'll see higher turnout, more turnout from low efficacy groups like young voters who generally would be more supportive of gay marriage or marijuana legalization. Whereas this, next year it's going to be congressional midterms. The turnout will be lower. A lot of the folks who are more supportive of these causes are going to stay home. So 2016 is probably the better bet.
You don't think the young kids are going to be out there voting for Tom Horn and Fred Duvall?
Well, and real quick, we should mention that the group behind the legalization of marijuana, they were also behind the medical marijuana push in 2010. And yet with the same-sex marriage, it's not like a north-south split here between folks from Phoenix and folks from Tucson.
A bit. The campaign originally kind of sprung up. Their co-chair was from Tucson. She was really organizing things there. They got support from a couple of LGBT groups down in Tucson. But once the Phoenix people, the real power center of the state, let's be honest, started pushing back, they've recently lost their endorsement from Wingspan, the LGBT center down in Tucson. The whole thing just kind of started to collapse.
Okay, we will stop it right there. Gentlemen, good to have you here. Thanks for joining
having
us. Monday on Arizona Horizon, physicist Lawrence Krauss will be here to discuss the latest on the Higgs particle and other science news. And House Speaker Randy Tobin talks about the legislature's trade mission to Mexico City. That's Monday evening, 5:30 and 10 on Arizona Horizon. Tuesday, Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton will discuss pension spiking and other issues. Wednesday, we'll speak with Jose Cardenas about Horizonte's 10-year anniversary. Thursday, a look at the Phoenix Symphony's upcoming season. And Friday, it's another edition of the Journalists Roundtable. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.